Our presenter for today is Steve Scoma from the New Hope Charter School Institute. He's been a frequent attendee here. He's been here several weeks in a row. We're glad to see him back. And we always recommend that our presenters come to several meetings ahead of time. So we're glad to see Steve here. He's got 6 minutes to tell us all about New Hope Charter School Institute. Please welcome Steve Scoma.
Well, good morning. Good morning. And it's true. You can't see hardly anyone out here, so I'm going to kind of squint a little bit. But I do have a real quick presentation that I wanted to just bring to you that will help you understand who I am and understand a little bit about the Institute and about where our strategies and direction is leading us. Again, I'm Steve Scoma. I was actually I'm born and raised in Dallas, Texas, and have only been here in the Columbia area since 1990, so relatively new into the culture here. I've been married 43 years. My wife is here with me today to support me in this initiative. We have 4 grown children and 2 grandsons. I've been a member of Christian Life Church for 28 years. Ever since I've been here, and I've served in numerous capacities there. So faith is a real strong support in my life, and that's what directs and guides me on my day-to-day ventures. I've had 35 years of management experience in business development and information technology, marketing, and sales. And have recently served in some key management positions for insurance companies, software development companies, and large service groups. So that's a little bit about me. Okay, let me talk about my entrepreneurial experience. It really started back when I was 24, just got married and started my own IT company. That's kind of where my education is and my background and experience was. Also, while we were living in Texas, I owned and operated some daycare centers in the Texas area. I helped also to launch a software development lab center in Indore, India. It was about a 1.5-year project to get that off the ground. And recently I've helped build and manage Plex Indoor Sports, if you've heard of that. I was the first employee for that organization and was a general manager for several years. And in 2014, my most recent launch was Daycare Developers, where we help companies, businesses, organizations start private daycare centers in their facilities to help with a benefit. It's a benefit for an employee benefit program. I've been asked, and as I'm sure you are when you kind of get into being an entrepreneur and have many facets to your background, what do you do? I mean, I've had that question. I wish I had $1 for every time that question was asked. You know, what do you do? You know? And I used to say that I was a consultant, but I now think I've changed that to I'm a dot connector. I used to love and still do love to do these little dot-to-dot puzzles where you can't see anything at the very beginning, but once you start connecting the dots, that picture comes into focus. So in my most recent activities, I've helped a couple start a children's home out in Elgin. I've helped my son actually start a coffee shop over in Casey, and another couple start a charter school here in the Lexington area. And that's kind of where my story begins, is with this initiative I had with this couple to start a charter school. Once I looked into charter schools, I came to realize that the Columbia area didn't really need another charter school. We have 13 right now. And where the charter school need to be placed is in those areas that will mostly benefit from them. So what am targeting to do with New Hope Charter School Institute is to open elementary schools throughout South Carolina. And there's some pretty stringent criteria that they place on a charter school. One, a charter school is a public school, just like a traditional school. It is no charge to go to a charter school. They're free of tuition. And my particular school will be the traditional elementary grades of K-5 through 5th grade. And the reason for that is that we believe if we catch these children at a very young age, give them a firm academic foundation, then they'll have a better chance to succeed in some of these districts where right now they're failing. These schools will be placed in districts where more than 50% of the children in those districts fail today. And that's hard to believe that we've got districts in our country, much less in our state, in our backyards, that where over half of the kids that go into that school will not be able to meet the standards set by the state of South Carolina. And here are a couple of them that we have identified that we'll eventually move into. Allendale School District, 60% of third graders fail to pass math, English, and science. That's 60%. So a parent in in Allendale School District has a choice. They send them to that school and they know 6 out of the 10 kids are not going to meet the standards for that grade. Jasper, 50% of third grade fail. Lee School District, 50% of third graders fail math and science. 8 school districts we have identified and targeted to move into. All of these school districts, they have no other choice for free education than the traditional public school. There's no charter school there. There's some private schools. There's some Christian church schools, but nothing that a parent has an option if they can't afford a private school to send their children to. So these are just more than pass or fail statistics. It's really very alarming statistics. And the Charleston Post and Courier did a series on our failing education system, and they found that more than half of the students in 3rd grade through 8th grade failed to meet the standard reading and math standards last year. And this is an article that just came out back in November, I believe. They also found that just 1 of 5 black 8th graders passed the state reading and math test, where over 50% of white students passed the test. 1 in 3 students graduate high school unprepared for jobs, and that's according to what our testing has shown. And these numbers are even worse in the rural and poor districts like Jasper, Allendale, Hampton counties, where high schools are unprepared for their future career. At 16 community high schools, mostly stranded in the impoverished I-95 corridor, which is known as the Corridor of Shame, not a single student took the advanced placement course last year. Not a single student was capable of taking that. But in Greenville, Charleston, and in Columbia, thousands took. And that was one of the statistics that alerted me that we don't need another school, a charter school in these school districts that already are succeeding. And then South Carolina tumbled last year in the national ranking to last place. So our objective is to provide students in these low-performing school districts an opportunity to gain a better education. It's just pure and simple. They need better opportunities for education. And to help these students during their elementary school years to get on that firm academic foundation. Those are very critical and formative years in their academic career, and those need to be firmly established. Our mission is to not compete against the traditional schools, but it's to come alongside these traditional schools and these school districts and improve the academic atmosphere in those districts where the public school system has failed to meet the education standards. So there's two ways we feel like we have a chance of success in these really challenging school districts. And one is that not only do we have to provide good quality education, which I do believe is being offered, but the other area I think is not being met in these needs are a community focus. It's those felt needs that community is facing that is hindering a lot of those children when they get to school, if they can even get to school, to be able to receive the education that they need. So we've designed a model of a charter school, and charter schools have a lot more flexibility, even though they're public schools, they have a lot more flexibility than a traditional public school. So our classrooms will all be no more than 18 students each. And right now, if you've got children in school, you know those can go up to 24, maybe 28 students in a classroom. We will have an on-site daycare center available for the staff, for the faculty, and for parents of students. Child care is critical. A lot of teachers have to miss school because their children get sick. A lot of parents struggle to find adequate daycare for their kids. So we want to be a one-stop education shop for parents. They can drop their younger children off at the daycare that's going to be on site, and their older children can come into the school. We're going to offer a before and after school program, and these are not going to be your babysitting services, but these will be more of an extension of the education that they're getting in the classroom. So with that, I'm going to stop, and
I know there's still hands up, so you all come and just